On a foggy night in Kyoto, the kind of thick, soupy fog that swallows sound and makes the world feel small, a young boy named Daichi was walking home. He'd just finished a long session at his cram school, and the ancient narrow streets were utterly deserted. The only sound was the lonely echo of his own footsteps, bouncing off the dark, sleeping wooden houses that lined the alleyways. Then, another sound joined his. A faint, rhythmic asterisk click, click, click asterisk. The sound of high heels on stone. Somewhere behind him in the mist, Daichi slowed, listening. The clicking slowed with him. He sped up, his heart starting to thrum against his ribs. The clicking sped up too, staying just behind him, a persistent, unnerving shadow of a sound. He finally spun around, his breath catching in his throat. There, under the weak, orange glow of a solitary street lamp, stood a woman. She was tall, unnaturally so, wrapped in a long beige trench coat that seemed to blend with the fog. Her hair was a sheet of glossy, sleek black, and a simple white surgical mask covered the lower half of her face. It wasn't an uncommon sight, especially during flu season, but something about her was profoundly wrong. The air grew cold around her and the fog seemed to cling to her form. She tilted her head, a slow, deliberate movement like a bird of prey studying its next meal. Her voice, when it came, was a soft, almost melodic whisper that cut through the silence with Tashi Tairi, am I pretty? Daichi froze, every nerve in his body screaming at him to run. He knew the stories. His grandmother, with a grave look in her eyes, had told him the legend of the Kuchisakana, the slit-mouthed woman, a spirit who wanders the streets, asking that exact question. He knew there was no right answer. Her eyes, the only part of her face he could see, were dark and empty, waiting. His voice was barely a squeak, lost in the heavy air. Yes, you're pretty. A strange muffled giggle came from behind the mask. Her shoulders shook with silent laughter. Then, with a theatrical slowness, her fingers went to the elastic loops of the mask. She hooked her thumbs and pulled it down. Daichi's world tilted. Where a normal mouth should have been, there was only a horrifying, gaping wound. Her mouth had been sliced open from ear to ear, a permanent, bloody grin filled with sharp, uneven teeth. The raw red flesh glistened wetly under the lamplight. Her voice, no longer soft, became a harsh, guttural rasp like metal scraping on bone. Kori demo, am I pretty? Asterisk now asterisk. Panic seized Daichi. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind. Say no, and she slice you in half with a pair of giant scissors. Say yes, and she'll take out her own pair and carve your face to match her own grotesque smile. He was trapped. His heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped bird. But then, another part of the legend surfaced in his memory, a loophole, a way out. Thinking faster than he ever had in his life, he avoided a direct answer. He looked at her, forcing himself to hold her gaze, and mumbled, "You're average, just so-so." The woman blinked. The jagged, bloody smile twitched. Confusion flickered in her dark eyes. This wasn't one of the expected answers. She was momentarily stunned, her script interrupted before she could process his response. Before that cruel smile could twist back into rage, Daichi acted. He fumbled with his school bag, his hands shaking so violently he could barely work the clasp. He pulled out a handful of hard candies, the cheap, sugary kind he always kept for a late-night snack. Without a second thought, he threw them onto the damp cobblestones between them. They scattered with a clatter, rolling and glinting in the dim light. Just as the legend foretold, the creature was distracted. She let out a shrill, excited shrieker sound that was half laughed, half cried. Immediately crouched down, her long fingers greedily snatching at the colorful candies on the ground. That was his chance. Daichi didn't hesitate. He turned and ran. He ran faster than he ever thought possible, his legs burning, his lungs on fire. He didn't dare look back. The sound of her scrabbling on the stones was all the motivation he needed. He sprinted through the winding alleys, the fog whipping past his face, until the familiar shape of his own house appeared through the gloom. He burst through the front gate, fumbled with the key, and slammed the door shut behind him, sliding the heavy bolt into place. He leaned against the wood, panting, sweat and tears mixing on his face. His whole body trembled uncontrollably. He was safe. He had to be. He'd made it home. Later that night, tucked into the false security of his futon, Daichi tried to convince himself it was just a nightmare. A trick of the fog and an overactive imagination fueled by old ghost stories. He closed his eyes, desperate for the oblivion of sleep, but just as he started to drift off, a sound from outside pulled him back to sharp, cold reality. It was a faint, almost imperceptible sound, but he knew it instantly. The sound of a single pair of high heels, walking slowly, deliberately, on the pavement just below his bedroom window. Asterisk, click, click, click. And then, a whisper, so soft it seemed to seep through the glass itself. A chilling, familiar question that promised he would never truly be safe again. Watashi Kare. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into Japanese urban legends, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more chilling tales. Stay safe out there, and check your windows.